Points Reader is a powerful document processing model from Tencent. So Points Reader is an OCR, and this is a 4 billion parameter model. So let's look into a demo of this OCR and let's see how it performs on various use cases. I also have a collab notebook. So this is a vision language model for end-to-end document conversion. And what they say is that this model achieves SOTA performance with scores of 0.133 for English and 0.212 for Chinese on OmniDocBench. OmniDocBench is an OCR benchmark, right? So let's try out this particular model. Okay. So we have a demo space over here where I have uploaded this particular image, right? And this is actually Alphabet Inc. consolidated balance sheet. So this particular tabular information, and this is the extracted content. So this model gives raw model or what you call raw text as output. Okay, because this is tabular data, gives outputs like this. Okay, over here, this output is actually converted into Markdown, and it looks like this. So if you look at, it says Alphabet Inc. consolidated balance sheets in millions except par value per share amounts. Okay, so if you look at this thing, it says dollars 23466, dollars 264, the very first line. So it captures it properly. Now, if you go a little bit over here, you have stockholders equity, and here you have this thing. So let's look at that over here, right? Stockholders equity 00. That, yeah, so it is captured. So one good thing it has done is that it has captured this table properly over here. So there are 3 columns over here, and it has captured all 3 columns properly, without any errors over here. Yesterday when I did this with Paddle OCR, it gave me 5 columns over, right? So it does good OCR on this kind of a document, but we want to test it further. So what I did was, there was a collab notebook provided over here. So I tried that collab notebook. So basically this 10-cent points reader from Prithvi Saktiur. Okay. So I tried that particular notebook over here on a collab, and for this you need to use a L4 instance. That is what it says over here. Requires L4 or higher GPUs to run the app. This model takes close to 6.9 GB of RAM. Okay. So let's look into this particular notebook. So you do the installations, whatever is required. On top of that, I had to install Flash Attention. Okay. So once you do that, this is how you actually load the model over here, right? You give the model path as Tencent points reader. So the tokenizer is this thing. The image processor is Qwen2.5VL image processor, because this model is based on Qwen2.57 with Qwen2.53 billion instruct. So that is a LLM used by this particular LLM or VLM used by this particular model. Okay. So it has a large VIT. That is what is written here. And if you go to the notebook over here, I think it was mentioned over here is that, it employs a moderate size NavIt encoder with the Qwen 2.53 billion instruct backbone. So this model makes use of Qwen 2.53 billion instruct backbone and this vision encoder. Now let's go back over here. So here you are actually, loading the model over here, right? So, and you are also creating the processor, image processor, right? So this is the core application thing for processing a document. So there is a prompt, okay? And this is the main function which handles model inference. So what it does is that there is a scaling factor to actually scale the image if the image has very small text. So that is why there is an image scaling factor over here. And you create your image, and this is the your content for your model. Okay, you have the messages like this, and you have the content, and then you run the inference. Okay, so this is your simple function to process an image, and then you can either load it from an URL or from a local image, right? So what I'm looking over here is there any specific prompt or something which is mentioned over here? I don't see any specific prompt as such. Okay. So user and content, fine. So what was written in this particular thing is that there is a fixed prompt over here for it to generate your output. Okay. So then you load the image over here. This is the image URL. For example, this particular image. Let's just open it. This is an example image. Okay. So the OCR is done for this particular image, and it gives the output like this. Okay. Lorem ipsum $sit first line basically, right? And then there is this table. See if it gives the table. Okay, it gives the table in a table format like this, right? So this is the OCR output. Okay, now I wanted to try this on certain images. So what I've done is that I've uploaded the images over here. The first is a handwritten image. It is this handwritten sampling form. Okay. And I gave this image as input over here, and I'm doing OCR. And if you look at it, it says this sample of handwritten is being collected for use. So these are all printed text, right? This sample of, it's very small text, but it is able to do OCR on that. Okay. Then it says min density 8389. Okay, 8389 min density. And then it starts MI48452. I think it is MI48456. So it struggles a little bit with handwritten text. Okay, that is a limitation which they have mentioned very clearly over here in the model limitations. They say that it, with handwritten document parsing, there is issues. It can lead to recognition errors or omissions. Complex document parsing with complex layouts like newspapers, it is, it has issues. Multi-language document parsing also, it supports only English and Chinese currently. Okay, go back over here. There is this handwritten part in the bottom. See if it's present over here. Okay. Surprisingly, that part is missing over here. It just repeats over here. So there are some issues with handwritten documents. Okay. This is a handwritten letter next which I'm going to try out. Okay. Dear sister, basically all our lives we were told. This is the handwritten letter. Let's see how it comes out. So dear sister, all our lives we are told to think of others, put ourselves second, walk in someone else's shoes. I want you to know right now, but until you are well again and you absolutely have permission and responsibility to think of yourself, put others second, focus on your steps, otherwise it will worry you. Actually, in this case, it has done a good OCR of this particular text. I don't see much English spelling errors over here. It's kind of this thing, and it says in heart grantium. Okay, what was the last one? Each day I'll be pulling for you and cheering you on. Each day I'll be pulling for you and cheering you on in heart grantum. So it has done a good job over here. Not sure if this data might be there in the training set, but it is good, done a good job. Okay. Then let's look at this particular multilingual text basically, right? Not multilingual. It's you have English and you have the language over here, right? This is Kannada text over here. Now let's look at it. So yeah, it has problems with multilingual because it's not supported. So actually it was wrong of me to test this, but I just simply gave it. Okay. Then I gave this particular image, right? A very simple screenshot image basically. And then I asked it to do the OCR. And here, if you see, it has given me directly over here, in spite of some chart and other things present over here. Let's look at and see if it is able to give something over here. Yeah, sleep 7:23 minutes, 7 hours 23 minutes vitals. So it has done a good job over here. Okay. In spite of some graphical elements being present. The next image is this one, right? This is a slightly complex image, I would say. You have image plus you have text. So let's look at this. And let's see. So raw extracted approved medications, emerging medications. Then it goes about. I think it's done a good job over here. If I look at what has been pulled out at a very high level. If I look at go to that image. See this particular part, neuropsychiatric disorders. Okay, so you see that over here. Fine. Now let's go above and see if it pulls out something. Okay. Survodutide over here. Where do we see survodutide is over here? Okay. Now semaglutide and agril. See if this text is present somewhere. Yeah, it is present over here. So it's actually doing a good job of an image like this, where it does very good OCR. Okay. Then I tried this one. Okay. Let's try this image and see. This is at a very high level. I'm not going character by character over here. Okay. So here is the surprise. Medicine always tries to. You thought Manjaro was the game changer. Okay. 27/6/20 liver Joe. See what happens over here. Actually, it is liver doc, not liver Joe. Okay. So that, yeah. So here it's a little bit complex. Captured this date and let's see if it is mixing up something else over here. Okay. 5%, everything else it is capturing properly over. Okay. So another image which I tried was this one. Right, this is not clear over here. Weight loss effectiveness 95, 90, 84, 85, 80. So there is a chart kind of thing, low risk factors. Not a very good image actually, but let's see what happens over here. Okay, where was this? I gave this OCR test 5. Yes. What does it say? People on Monjaro are going blind. Okay. Yeah, but it kind of doesn't pull this from these images or anything, right? Yeah. So sometimes it has issues with this particular, images. Some, if it is of not good quality, or if you have something like this, it's not able to pull it out. Okay. But then it pulls this part of the text, but it's not able to read this, not this chart over here. Okay. Now this is a table which I've given as input, and probably it does a good job there. What I saw, right? The table, it does properly. There is no issues. It's being pulled all the values, and it's parsing the table properly. So this was a short test with some images. Okay. I'll share the link to this collab notebook. You can check it out. As I see, when it has some complex layout, yes, it has issues. It can produce repeated or missing content. With handwritten, there are possibilities of errors. That is possible with any VLM, I would say, or OCR. And it supports English and Chinese. But I'm quite happy with some of the other results which I can see with these images, which I've tested over here. You can also go and try out this particular points reader OCR and see if it is good for your tasks. There is this collapse, what you call Hugging Face space, where you can try it out, or you can try out this collab notebook, right? They also have a publication if you are interested in understanding more about points reader. So this is an interesting, I think, an open source, Apache 2.0 license, open weights or open source model for you to try it out. Another good OCR model. Okay, so we are seeing a lot of OCR models coming out from labs like Tencent or from China, from Alibaba Group. So you can check out this OCR as well. Hope the video is useful. See you in another video.